So I sort of want to play devil's advocate. You know, the other side and the objection is God's perfect. There's no way that he needs anything. And this idea that God needs us and God needs us to serve him is humanizing God and sort of making him less. How would you sort of, counter that?
If you're talking about God needing something, then that's humanizing, because that's creation. God created imperfect people. And that's the way he wanted us to be. We have to work towards our perfection. We have to, this is a human condition. So obviously God is the creator and doesn't have any lack and doesn't have missing anything. He's absolute perfection. So we're not talking about his need for something. When we talk about God needing, you're talking about God's need for someone. That's completely different. That doesn't come out of lacking. It comes out of perfection. I'm perfect. I need nothing. But what's the point if it's just me? I'm perfect, but you should be here too. Someone else should be with me. That only a God can feel. Only a perfect God can have such a need. The need for someone. So when you talk about the need for something, that's a human conversation. When you talk about the need for someone, that's a godly conversation. The real question is, how can we talk about human beings needing someone? That's godly. How did we get that way? How is it that you yearn to be married, yearn for children? That's godly. And we're so imperfect, we should just be focused on our need for things. That could keep us busy our whole life. And yet we talk about wanting to get married, wanting to have children, wanting to have guests over, wanting to be part of a community, have friends, make space for other people. That's godly. How did that happen to us? And that's because we're created in his image.
So you're saying the idea for needing someone, that's what it means to be created in God's image. Something, that's a human condition, that's part of creation. Now, the objection to this could be, you're going way out into the mystery here of your understanding God, and you're a human being and you're sort of getting very deep into God's motivation for creation and very philosophical. A person could be very religious, goes to the synagogue, does all the laws, keeps all the commandments. Why is this conversation necessary?
God came to us and asked us to be his people, and asked us if we want his Torah, and told us every 613 commandments and things that he's asking of us to do for him. He created an entire universe. There's so much going on. It begs the question, what's in this for you, God? What do you need all this for? Why does it make a difference to you whether I do these things or I don't do these things? You're perfect. So, yes, I know from our perspective, we don't need to ask that question because, hey, we're talking about God, the provider of everything. So let's just stay on his good side, do whatever he asks you, and you'll get blessings, because we need a lot of blessings. So we have many, many, many reasons to follow the Torah and to follow the commandments, because we need from God. But you have to ask the question, yes, I have all these needs from God, but that's once I'm here. I was created imperfect, and now that I'm here, I need God's help. But what's the point? So I'll work all my life to get a lot of blessings from God, and then it'll all be over. And what did I accomplish? I survived for 120 years. Did I accomplish anything other than survival? So we need to ask, why are we here? And it's not a new question. People have been asking this question. And today, so many years later, we have a lot of information. There's so many books written on this to help us understand. All that's changing is that we're bringing it into English. We're bringing it into simple language that can be understood. But this is essential for any thinking human being that's not just living on the surface, you know?
But you understand, like, people's objection, not to name names, but, like, if you could just, what would you want to tell them? I know we just addressed it, but what would you want to say if you had them at a quiet moment and they were really listening? And you say, I know this is a hard idea to swallow, but just get this.
Maybe is it a fear of making our perfect God look like less than perfect? We want to have this picture of perfection. But what I would love to tell them is that this doesn't make God look any less perfect. This is the most incredible part of God. So the fact that God is perfect is not a big deal. That's who he is. He's the original source of everything. So yeah, wow, you're awesome. But this awesome being is not satisfied being alone, being perfect alone, wants me in his life. That doesn't make him less than perfect. That makes him so much more amazing. He's not only perfect, but he's humble. His perfection doesn't satisfy him. But if we're here, us simple people, if we're in his life, it's better. That's amazing. So we have more awe of God once you have this conversation. And you feel a personal connection. It's not just, wow, you're amazing. It's, and there, you care about me. You're waiting for me. This only makes you so much more in awe. So it's just a matter of being able to take that time to process and have this conversation.
It's sort of clicking for, like, when we learn about God says, make me a tabernacle and I will dwell amongst them. And all the commentaries say it should say, make me a tabernacle and I will dwell in it, in something. But God says, no, I will dwell amongst them. The whole purpose of the tabernacle is for someone, not something. And God's not into tabernacles or into temples. He's into the relationship, the someone, and that unity and that love and that togetherness that could be expressed in that dwelling place, if you will.
Yeah, so this is not a new conversation. It's all over the Torah. God asking us, would you do this for me? Would you do that for me? He's telling us his need. So we have to ask this question, because to say, why would God need a tabernacle? That's a good question. How could a perfect God need a home? He's not missing a physical home. So we must ask the question, because if God needs a home, that makes him seem a little less than perfect, right? So you have to ask, and what you find out is exactly in that verse, because it's saying, I want you to build me the home, not because I'm missing a home, but then I'll have a place to be with you. That makes sense for a perfect God, because a perfect God is missing nothing, but is missing someone. So you can't avoid this question.
And sort of just to finish off with this, now there's a lot of talk, Kanye West and anti-Semitism. How does everything we spoke about relate to the rest of the population, human beings, non-Jews? Does God need them?
Absolutely. This is God's world. This is God's world, and God did not create an extra thing or an extra person that is not an absolutely important part of his goal. You're talking about a perfect God. So a perfect God has a perfect plan, and every single person is necessary. Every single thing is here to do its part in getting God to his goal of relationship. But the things don't have free choice. They just do their thing. But every single human being was given free choice to choose the relationship, to notice God in his world and realize what he's after or not. And because we have that free choice, when we do choose, then God has us. And then that's when the purpose of creation happens. So this is a conversation for every single human being. Everyone's a part of it. And if we're doing our part, but somebody else is not noticing God or welcoming God or thinking about God, then God's not satisfied. This is his entire world. Nobody is left out of the purpose.
So dare we say that God is vulnerable? It sounds like a lot of vulnerability here. And I know we've discussed this, but
God has ultimate vulnerability. Because for ourselves, what's our deepest vulnerability? Our need to breathe? Our need to breathe is a handicap, is a problem, and we try to take care of it. But if a person doesn't breathe, okay, his life is over. His existence is over. Can't stay alive. But our problem is over. But our need for a relationship, our need for our children, our need for our spouse, our need for the closeness, that stays with us forever. Even after a person passes away, that yearning and need is still there. And the need for closeness and the need for you to think about your loved ones that have passed is so important. They still want the relationship. A soul yearns for this oneness, this godly yearning for a oneness. That's our deepest vulnerability. Like, if we could satisfy ourselves by ourselves, if all I had to do was make sure I have air to breathe, food to eat, a house to live in, money to pay my bills, I can take care of myself and all of my needs, all my human needs, that would be great. But we have this godly need as well for someone, and that I can't do for myself. That someone else has to do for you. That's vulnerability. I can't satisfy myself. Because even when I'm perfect, it's not enough. So that's vulnerability. And if we have that, for our spouse and for our children and for the few people in our lives, imagine God in his infinite yearning for every single one of us. He's desperately waiting. He created a whole world to have us. And he's absolutely perfect, and yet without us, he's not satisfied. So we satisfy God. That's vulnerable. It's amazing.
Okay, thank you, and more to come. And I'm not going to ask anyone to hit the like button or subscribe, because that would be needing something from you. So we don't need subscribers. But if you want to comment or you want to send an email, please send it to RabbiYoniKatz@gmail.com. It'll be in the description. And
because if this touches you, then we have you. Then we've connected with another human being. That's the goal. It's not the likes. It's the someone on the other side.
okay, I think this is a good start. I hope you enjoyed these deep mystical teachings, obviously based on Kabbalah and Hasidic philosophy. And let's keep it going. Let's make the world a more united and together place, and hope to see you all more in the future.